Greetings, everyone. My name is Blessing Kumbu. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the BSc Horizon. As usual, we come with special guests and we continue our series with women in STEM. So today we have Dr. Daphne from the Department of Physics with the research field being nuclear physics, and she has her master student, Mary. How are you guys feeling today?
Great.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so first I'd like to say thank you so much for making the time for us to have this conversation. So I think before we get into it, as an icebreaker question, I feel like a lot of people, especially given that people you are in the research field of nuclear physics, people think like you don't have a life. You guys are nerds. So maybe as an icebreaker, you can tell us what is your favorite hobby and why.
Okay. I'm a person that doesn't really have a stable hobby, so it changes over time. For now, what I enjoy doing is knitting because I love pattern recognition. I also play a lot of board games. So, yeah, those are my two hobbies.
Cool, cool. And what is yours, Dr. Daphne?
My hobby is to keep myself fit. I like to exercise when I'm not busy with my work, and also playing with my kids. Yeah.
Okay, cool. As you see, guys, they have a life. They have a life. Scientists have a life. So, so Mary, if you maybe can tell us if you go back, I know it's a long time, to matric,
Mhm.
what type of student were you, and like how did that influence um your career, sort of like your majors in undergrad going into physics?
Okay. I was a student who was, or a learner who was very curious. I wanted to know how things work, how you get to learn more about a particular subject. Hence, I chose like mathematics and physics stream when I was doing um, my high school.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was a learner that was enthusiastic. I wanted to learn every day. It was a happy moment for me to be in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's especially if it was mathematics. My teacher knew, Mr. Moyo, by the way. He always knew that if it's time for mathematics, Mary will be there sitting in the front, enjoying the subject. Yeah, so I was just a learner that loved learning.
Okay, cool. And then like when you came into undergrad, what were your majors? And also like how did you find the transition from high school to undergrad?
It was I did a BSc in mathematics and physics.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of transitioning in a sense that when you are in high school, your teachers force you to learn. When you are in university, you force yourself to learn, right? I mean, you have your own time to do things. So, and also culture, getting to experience a different culture from what it was in high school. That was a big transition for me. And also moving from one area to another.
Mm.
You get to be comfortable when you are in a place for a very long time. So now having to move, learn new things, meet new people,
Mm.
meet other teachers, which are lecturers at the university level, that you don't know. You have to learn their teaching style and things like that. So it was, yeah, big transition.
Okay. So maybe if I can take it to you, Dr. Daphne, why physics? Like, why physics, and where did your love for physics begin?
Okay. So when I grew up, I grew up as a child who wanted to solve problem to make things better in life. So I did maths and physics from high school.
Mhm.
So when I was still in high school, the goal was to make the situation better at home, to make life better.
Mhm.
And I knew that with science courses or science subject, that would be the one that will bring me to where I wanted it to be.
Mhm.
So I went to Northwest University to do BSc with my science subject from high school,
Mhm.
and I did maths, physics, and electronics because I wanted uh, to make things better. So I worked on looking at if I have the skills, I can work in such a way that I can use my skill to improve the situation.
Mm.
So with physics, with electronics, with math, those are the core subjects that you can use it to apply it everywhere you see things are happening. Most of the thing is application of science, right? You talk of engineering, you talk of medicine, it's application of science, right? So I chose physics for that reason, and I went on to complete my BSc. And when I completed my BSc, I wanted to study further. And as I came down to Cape Town to do my honors, that's when I got to learn about the use of nuclear particles for a lot of application, like at Quebec, they generate electricity from nuclear particles, right? From uh, uh, nuclear fission. So I wanted to, the desire was always to use my skills to improve things, to contribute my knowledge into a better life for everyone. So that's when I from uh, math science, I then chose to go along the physics because it was more practical as well. And the application of them, I wanted, it was more for me that they call my desire to continue in that. So I chose nuclear physics because of what you can use it for. For example, now we are working with nuclear physics experiments. We are using proton to use it for medical physics to cure cancer. So, so for me, physics is something that is beyond things that you can just imagine. It's everything that we use now.
I mean, that's true. Physics is very fascinating.
Yes.
But like, I mean, a lot of people, maybe if I can take it to you, Mary, a lot of people, physics just, I know for myself, I loved physics in matric. Then when I came into undergrad, when they were asking me to choose my elective, I chose physics. I was like, I loved physics. And I was like, and then I was like, no, actually, I don't love physics. So, like, like a lot of people are afraid of physics. Like, physics is just this scary thing. And I'm sure even now, saying nuclear physics, people are like, So, like, I don't know, rate the difficulty of physics and like how do you sort of like how did you sort of like survive physics in undergrad? Because I know a lot of people, physics is just, I mean, it was an elective for me, it was difficult. It was a major for you. Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't like it's so hard to rate it because physics is broad, right? You have a lot of fields inside a field or areas that you can focus on. So if I would rate the whole physics as a whole, like it will be very difficult. There are just areas that a person will be very good at, and the areas that you'll be less good at. It happens. It's part of life, right? So I don't think I can give it a scale, but it's not something to be scared of. It's doable. If I could do it, then anyone else can do it. I mean, it's all about dedication, right? And the will to learn. You just sit there and tell yourself that today I will try and understand the concept, right? Then you grow to love things when you get to do them again and again and again and be like, oh, I understand this. This is nice. This is actually doable. Yes. So there's no scale blessing. Like, I
No,
can't give it a
definitely. I
scale.
think you mentioned an important point because I believe like no matter how difficult anything can be, if you have the passion for it and dedication, practice and practice,
Yes.
and it becomes like a second nature thing. You
Yeah.
get used to it.
Yes.
So maybe if I can take it to you, Dr. Daphne. I mean, for most like young Black African girls, um, there's been like this notion of like a lot of them don't get to continue like their education into tertiary education. Like what advice would you give to parents, because we know like from other religions doesn't allow girls to continue to matric. What advice can you give to parents in terms of like allowing their children to pursue their tertiary education, and also what advice would you give to young Black girls in terms of like pursuing their career path? Like for example, science. We don't have a lot of female scientists. It was known as like it's a man thing, it's a male thing. So what advice can you give with regards to that?
Yeah. I think, yes, you're right. We have to break the stereotype that girls cannot do science. And I'm one of the example, and I shouldn't be alone here. I should have more more Marys,
Mhm.
right? So just like my parents, they were not educated, but they saw the desire in me, the will in me that I wanted to continue, and they supported me, and I'm very grateful for that. So some of the challenges, of course, it is the finance for you to pursue your postgraduate studies, because they will, after BSc, they will expect you to go to work, right? But there are a lot of funding out there that can assist in paying for your tuition, and there's a lot of opportunities that really look for female, black as well, to then give them a chance for them to really pursue what they desire for the future, which is, if it's what they want to be, like a doctor in science, then they should be given that opportunity, and they should be supported from home and in the university environment, right? So even for them, the young girls, I would say, sky is the limit. They should not be um, uh, believing other people who tells them that you cannot do it. No, they should not. I know from high school, it is a challenge that you find the teacher who had just see things just there, and then they will tell you, where are you going?
Yeah.
What do you think you can be in the future? You see, and they should just, you know, have the desire to say, one day I will see myself there. I don't know where I will be. Like today, I didn't. I see myself as a lecturer in physics at UCT. It's something that, when, if you ask me at high school level, I wouldn't have said that I want to be I'm going to be a high school a lecturer at university. But because of the hard work that I put in, because of the desire of being in science, and here I am, right? So
Definitely.
yeah, so
No,
I'm really,
definitely. I think that
yeah,
is good advice, in the sense that you need to be dedicated and
of
also
course,
like work towards that goal one step
yes,
at a time, and also
yes,
trust the process.
of
And I
course,
think you mentioned a very important point. I feel like in high school, most teachers, and I think it gets to a lot of students, if a teacher says, you're not going to go anywhere, I think it weighs on them. So I think that's a very important point.
true.
So, Mary, so to undergraduate science students there, maybe people in their final year like myself, or people that are going to be in final year next year, how did you go about like deciding to say, okay, I'm going to do honors and it's going to be like in physics? So like, what is your advice in terms of like, how do you know this is the pathway that you want to go, and how do you go about choosing the pathway to go?
Honestly, it's not easy, right? Because remember, I have two majors. I have mathematics and physics. So I just looked at which one will take me closer to what I want to do, right? For me, it was medical physics. So obviously, I had to choose an honors in physics. And also, back then, I didn't see myself in the industry, right? I've always wanted to learn, right? And that would be favorable if I stayed in the academic setting. So it was just a given that I should do an honors. So for undergraduates, I'd tell them to like do self introspect, like think about where you want to be at the like after doing that honors. It doesn't end with just an honors degree and be like, no, I'll do an honors degree and then decide that. Before you do it, decide, do you want to continue in academia, or you're just doing that honors to get an advantage for the industry? So those are the major questions that you should ask yourself. You should also look at who you are. Like, where do you think you'd be comfortable to be? Are you comfortable with working a 9 to 5? Are you comfortable sitting around, behind the desk and reading papers every day? That should be your question before you do an honors degree.
Okay,
Yeah.
definitely. And then also, I know like it's a big jump from matric to undergrad. Is it also a big jump from undergrad to postgrad, or is it now it's chilled?
For an honors, I would say it's mild, right? From going from undergrad to honors degree, because it's more or less the same structure. You have your courses and a mini dissertation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not as like when you do a master's where you have to sit and read and actually apply and try to model something, right? So when you move from undergrad to honors, it's like, I don't know, it's leveled,
Okay.
you see. So you don't get to feel like, oh my God, I'm so stuck. I'm not comfortable with this. No, it's something that you've been doing. And some universities also allow you to do some mini research when you're doing your final year, your undergrad, final year undergrad.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's the same structure. You just
Okay.
need to know if I want to do this or not. That's
Okay. So, Dr. Daphne, maybe if you can tell our viewers, um, what is nuclear physics and why should they come and be part of the field? And like, where is it going? What's the future in nuclear physics?
Okay. So, nuclear physics, most of the people are scared of it,
Mm.
right? But when they're still on the outside, right? Once they come in, they will realize that nuclear physics, it gives lot, a lot. So, when we talk of nuclear physics, we are studying the nucleus in the atom. Every matter is consists of atom. And in the atom, you have the nucleus in the center and you have the electrons orbiting around,
Mm.
right? So when we talk of nuclear physics, we are mostly interested on the center, which is the nucleus of the atom. There you find your protons, you find your neutrons, right? And so the application of using this nucleus, apart from just studying their properties, right? So they are diverse in such a way that you can use this nucleus to do a lot of stuff. As I said, um, we are getting electricity at Quebec. Eskom here in Cape Town is generating electricity from nucleus. So they bring the neutrons to break the nucleus, and then it releases energy, and that energy is used to heat up the water and turn the turbine where we get the electricity now.
Mm.
So, like Mary, she's using a particle in the nucleus, which is the proton,
Mm.
to then study how we can use this to treat cancer, especially in the young children, because now we see that there's a growing trend of young people who are developing cancer in a
Mm-mm.
region where you cannot do surgery, right? So it will be best to use the energy from the proton to kill the cancer. So you see, it's amazing.
Mm.
This is just few of the example. They can also be used in the border security to tell whether some people are carrying some weapons, right? So the application of nuclear physics is broad and is really important. Um, it's a field that is growing in terms of the use of it to apply in different areas
Mm.
where it can help to improve life,
Mm.
right? Yeah, so that is why I love nuclear physics, because as I was doing on my master's and PhD, I was just focusing on the fundamental part of it, and now I'm using that for the application of
Mm.
it to improve life.
I think that is pretty cool because I mean, in science, after all, it's all about finding like the nitty gritty how everything works, and then you apply it to try and solve like big problems in the world.
Yes.
So, you're currently a master's student. So,
yes.
are you gonna go to PhD?
Obvious.
And then maybe while we're on that,
Mhm.
um, just maybe rate how is masters currently,
Oh my
and then
God.
also maybe then after you rate how is masters, maybe I can take you to Dr. Daphne as to like how do you draw the line whether should you go only to honors then stop and go work, or do you go to masters, or do you need to go all the way to PhD? Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, masters is good. It's
Hmm.
way good. I have time.
Okay, that's cool.
So
Uh-huh.
yeah, there are no assignments.
Okay.
There are no tests. It's
That's a flex.
There's
Yeah,
no
that's a flex.
exam.
That is a
Yeah.
flex, eh?
So I just spend my time reading, researching,
Mhm,
modeling.
mhm.
That's my life.
Okay.
So like I have freedom, like the freedom to choose when not to learn.
Oh,
So
that's so cool.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll give it 100% so far. Yeah, a master's is it's where to go. So they
Okay.
should do masters,
They should, guys should
especially
do
in medical
masters.
physics or in physics or in nuclear physics.
Biased, but yeah, definitely, guys should do
Yeah,
masters, eh?
yeah.
Mhm. So, like, how do you get to draw the line? Whether should you end at honors? Do you need to go to masters? Do you need to go all the way to PhD? Because I think a lot of people are just, I mean, like myself, I'm just asking myself, okay, I'll be doing honors next year.
Yes.
Do I need to go all the way to PhD postdoc, or
Oh,
how do you gauge it?
you won't really ask that question. You won't. I,
Uh,
as I see or as I recall, what happened to me
mhm,
is I did honors. And then during honors, that's when I was introduced deep into nuclear physics,
mhm.
measuring the energy from these particles and then studying the properties of nucleus, learning about the shapes of the nucleus. I was so much excited about all this.
Mm.
And I did not even think of whether I should do masters. No, I was just
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I was sitting analyzing this data, finding all new things about the nucleus that I was studying. And I remember my master's was here at UCT.
Mhm.
So during the graduation, I already had like the feel of I wanted to do PhD.
Mm.
But during the graduation, my mom was here to witness me graduating. So when we finished, we were taking photos outside the hall,
Mhm.
right? And then um, I just had that desire to say, I want to do PhD. Why? I was asking my mom, do you see those people wearing the red gown?
Yes.
She said, what does that mean? Because of course she's not educated. I said, those are the people with PhD and I want to do it. She
Mm.
said, I thought you're going to work for me now that you have your master's. I said, 3 more years, 3 more years. That's what all I request.
Uh,
And she said, if that's what you want, you
mm.
have my blessings. So I went in knowing that I just want that 3 more years to wear that red gown.
Mm.
And I worked hard to get it because that's what I wanted,
Mm.
right? And because also the learning is something that I like. I like learning new things. I like, increasing my knowledge on what is happening. So, yeah, you don't even ask. You get in and you are so much excited about what you're doing that, like she said already, she said PhD.
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely, it's a
yes,
given.
yes. You see, as she
Uh,
came in, I don't think before she started this research on flesh proton therapy, she would have thought of
No.
PhD. But now, once she started to get excited about what is happening in there, she said, "Yes, I'm ready for PhD as well." So,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's one taking it one step at a time. So when you're in
Yes.
honors, then you're gonna say, okay, you'll definitely know whether you wanna. Okay. So
Mm.
maybe if we can touch on an important question, I mean, surely most people doing a BSc, they're like worried, okay, what are my job opportunities? Am I gonna get a job after this degree? So maybe if you can comment on like what career pathways can a BSc open for you, and then also maybe touching on like what can nuclear physics, like after doing this, what can you go and do in the working field?
Okay. So a BSc is very broad. I think a lot of people might not know.
Hmm.
Like a BSc is not just a BSc in physics or mathematics. You have your BSc in statistics, computer science, um, biotechnology, and a lot more biochemistry,
I can, yes.
microbiology. So there are a lot of like streams or careers that you can choose. Like you can choose to do a BSc in chemistry and end up working in the pharmacy. Maybe a lot of people don't know that. You can go to the lab and actually produce medicine. If you did chemistry, a BSc in chemistry, if you choose your BSc in mathematics or a BSc in statistics, you can be a data analyst. And that's like a hot career path right now. Everyone just wants to analyze data.
Data is a big thing, eh?
Exactly. So, like, a BSc opens a lot of doors for you. It's not a one way. It's not like a professional degree where you'll be like, okay, I'm going to do a medicine, right? So if you do medicine, then you'll go and work as a doctor. But then if you do BSc, you have a lot to choose. There's like the like variety of options of what you can be. You're flexible. Yeah.
Okay.
Or also you're constrained by what you
What you
choose.
choose.
Yeah.
But we're more flexible in a science degree.
There's flexibility. Like, okay, I'll tell you about mine. I did a BSc in mathematics and physics, right? I could have chosen to just go and be a data analyst because I did a fair share of mathematics and statistics and computer science courses. So I could fit well as a data analyst, right? But because like I didn't want that career path at that point, I just chose to be doing research. You see, so a BSc is not a one just a bubble where you don't know what to do after that. No, you have opportunities. You can be anything you want.
The world is your oyster with the
Oh,
BSc, hey?
you own it.
Own it, hey? Yeah. Maybe Dr. Daphne, do you have anything to add to
Yeah.
that?
Yes, with BSc, I mean, I didn't know from undergraduate that there are people who are just doing research on what they love. Imagine just doing research, just working on doing what you love. Every day you wake up to research on that. No one is like, hey, did you do this? Did you do that?
Yeah.
No,
It's something that you love.
something that you love. You are researching. You continue to go deep and deep and deep on what you love, right? And then you share the knowledge freely out there to say, this is my findings, right? There's a lot of opportunities as researchers, right? You can focus on research and combine it with sharing the knowledge in terms of teaching in like at the university level, right? Or you can just focus on research. You can move to application from BSc. You can move to application, data science, as you said, in medical physics, because you have the background of physics. But of course, you will need to supplement with some courses. But I mean, as you said, where is your oyster when you have a BSc? So, yeah, there's a lot of
Definitely.
opportunities.
I
out
feel
there.
like it has a lot of opportunities because it's broad, but then to a lot of people, we just don't know, eh?
Yes.
You just worried, okay, we just don't know.
Where will I work?
Exactly.
Yes.
Like it's always like, okay, where am I going to work? What next? So and I also think the problem is that mostly in high school during career days, it's always about professional degrees. I've never heard anyone come and say, "Oh, I'm a scientist." It's always
Yeah.
okay, doctor, lawyer,
Yeah.
engineer.
It's true.
And I feel like that needs to change so that people
Yeah.
know that what
Yeah.
you read in the textbook, someone did it, eh?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to touch on that, when I was doing my grade 11, grade 12, we used to go to science center, and careers that came in were occupational therapist, psychology, or physio also.
Physio.
Yes. And I remember when my brother asked me, what are you going to study? I said, occupational therapist. Why not? Because this is what I'm exposed to, right? But then, because he was already way ahead in the tertiary, he said, no, there is a computer science career. I think you should at least go that way, not that occupational therapy. Not knowing that once I go to the university, then I will find some.
There's a lot.
Yes, yes. And here I am as a nuclear physicist.
Definitely.
You see.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I wanted to say that it was kind of different for me because I was fortunate enough to know someone who was already studying physics at the university level. So I knew that you can actually study physics and mathematics at the university level and not only do professional degrees.
Okay, so you had a mentor already.
Uh, something like that.
Or maybe a protege, someone that you looked up to that you already.
Yeah, I
Okay.
did, because yeah, he was doing good.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So maybe on your side,
Mm-hmm.
what advice would you give to someone maybe in matric? They're coming to university very soon in terms of like pursuing what they want. Maybe someone who's coming to doing a BSc, what advice would you give them like in terms of pursuing what they want and not like limiting themselves? For example, maybe people will say, "Hi, nuclear physics, are you gonna fail, my sister? Don't do that." So like what advice would you give to them? And maybe also tell them like how important a BSc is, because I feel like a lot of people they undermine a BSc, eh? They be like, that one. Mm-mm. So like, what advice would you give to someone just coming into
Yeah.
uni?
The most important thing to know is that something is difficult when you are far. When you're just looking at something, it looks difficult, right? So, as a person, don't allow someone to tell you that that's very difficult, then you live it like that.
Mm,
Say that, yes, it's difficult, but I'm willing to try. I
mm,
have the will to say that it's difficult, I'm going there. Just because it was very difficult for you doesn't mean that it will be very difficult for me.
absolutely.
Allow me to have the experience to say that, okay, I did nuclear physics, it was difficult, that's why I left. Don't be like, I didn't do nuclear physics because so and so said this is very difficult, you won't survive. If I am saying I will survive, I shall survive. So that is um my advice. Do what you want. Don't allow a person to tell you, even if it's not in nuclear physics, right? Maybe you want to do actuarial science and someone is saying that don't do actuarial science, people don't graduate in record time. What if I will actually beat the odds and graduate in record time? So don't listen to a person who's saying it was difficult for them. You have the will to choose to try something that is very difficult, right? If Albert Einstein would have said, no, I don't want to do this, it's too difficult, we wouldn't have the knowledge that we have right now. We wouldn't have the studies that we're trying to study right now, right? Just because he went there and studied and like it came up with new ideas, we have something to look into, we have something to study. So you can also be a person who comes up with new ideas in that particular field. So don't allow anyone to tell you what to do with what you want to do. That's my advice. Like, it's doable. Honestly, anything is doable. There are things that I thought were difficult for me. If also you had asked me when I was in maybe undergrad whether I would study physics or not, I wouldn't have said yes, right? Because I was just starting. But now, looking back, I see that if I hadn't took the chance and said that, yes, it's difficult. Everyone says you won't understand quantum mechanics, then don't do it. I did quantum mechanics. Yes, it was challenging, but I told myself that I will conquer, and I did.
You conquered.
Yes.
Yes, you should.
So, like, don't do, like, in anything you do, even apart from school, don't listen to a person who says things that are difficult and you just leave them. Be that person who says that, yes, it's difficult, but I will try.
I think that is good. Yeah, you shouldn't let other people's limiting beliefs limit you, because that was their experience.
And what if sometimes a person is telling you, don't do this, it's difficult, because they just don't want you to progress in life?
Also, yeah, you never know, hey?
Not everyone likes what you're doing at that point in
Exactly.
time. So
Yeah.
just be you. When you have to choose a path, whether you want to do media because it's what you like, you
Go
are
for that.
passionate about that, go and do it.
Okay. Okay.
And also the stigma of parents saying that I want my son or my daughter to be a doctor. If you don't want to be a doctor, don't be one. Really, it's sad to see a person study a degree that they don't like, but because someone out there said, you know, you'd be comfortable doing this, then they end up doing it. No, you want to do art, you do art, and you will excel in that. There are a lot of people who just draw nice figures and we love them and we buy, right? So if you love art, you do art. You love physics, you do physics. You love numbers, maths
Do
is your name.
numbers.
Like, yeah.
No, definitely. I think your last point is very important. I just feel like maybe us as Gen Zs, we need to do better in not
Exactly.
forcing our children to do professional degrees. We
Yes.
should encourage them to explore and do what they want to do. And I also think maybe also encouraging schools to invite scientists, like non-professional degrees, to also tell children about, learners about these things, and not just professional degrees, so that a child can know, like, oh, actually, I want to be a scientist, and not just think it's either you're a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer. If you're not that, you're a failure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
So maybe in closing,
Mm-hmm.
so if you can, maybe you and Dr. Daphne, if you can give us a brief summary of what like your MSc project is about. I don't know if you guys are comfortable telling us what is your MSc project about, and like where are the findings leading into. I don't know. So that like people can see like what research are you guys doing in nuclear physics.
Okay, I'll just point it out that
Mm-hmm.
it's not really in the findings phase for now
Mm-hmm.
because I've just begun my master's degree, right?
Okay.
So yeah, we're not yet in the findings.
Mm-hmm.
So I can also give it
Okay.
to you, yeah.
So her research is very fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
Very. We are looking forward to the results. So there is a UCT Proton Initiative, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they want to build a center for proton therapy. It will be one in the uh, Africa or southern part where we can do this treatment of cancer using proton. It used to be at Itemba, but they closed that center. They closed that part where they do proton therapy.
Mm.
And I mean, it's not like the cancer patients are limited. Like there's few. The trend is growing of more and more people being diagnosed with cancer, and there's a need because there's a need of using a non-invasive,
Mm.
yeah, where you don't need to
Correct.
do surgery. So um proton therapy, it is really efficient or effective in terms of that, depending on the location of the tumor,
Mm-hmm.
it can go and deposit all the energy to kill the cancer, right, and stop there. And then it also preserves the tissue around so that they do not get damaged by
So
the radiation.
it's targeted and it limits
Yes,
damage to the host
yes.
cells. Mm.
So, uh, hair research, which is a master's research, so it's we try to model it in such a way that it's not too big, but in a level of masters. She's looking at that. If this center is built here in Cape Town, can it be used to look at to treat pediatric patients like
Mm-hmm.
young people, young kids? So we want to use what is now being used worldwide, that you can have a high dose of protons at a very short time impinging onto the cancer, right, cells. And then within this short time, you deliver a large dose that it just then come to break the cancer and then preserve the tissue around. So unlike the conventional treatment where you come in, you get a dose, you go away, you come back, you get a dose, you go. This one, it will be good that we can treat more patients because at a high dose for a very short time, like in milliseconds, you give and then the patient will go to recover and then you just do the follow up. So here research is focusing on that, on the flash proton therapy, a high dose for a short time that is very effective in treating cancer without having a lot of um, side effects to the tissue around. So for kids who are still need to grow up, we want to preserve them that only the cancer dies and the other part
No compromises.
no
And,
compromises. Yeah.
okay.
So yes.
That is pretty cool, eh?
Yes.
I mean, I feel
Yes.
like I want to do nuclear physics
Yes.
now. I don't know about you
Yes,
guys.
you should come.
That is
Come.
pretty cool.
Yes.
So maybe in closing, Dr. Daphne, why do you think representation is important in science in terms of like having like black girls or women or females, black females in science? Why do you think representation matters, and also why do you think we need more female scientists in Africa?
I think it's not like the need to have more, but it should be from them. Is that where they want to be? Right? If that's where they want to be, we should support them by all means, give the funding, the support, so that they can be there where they want to be, right? So for me, I came in because this is what I wanted. This is where I wanted to be, and I love it, right? So they should do it because it's what they love to do. If they want to be as a nuclear physicist, as a data scientist, as medical physicist, so I mean, in on all these careers, it used to be a male dominating. But if it's this, for them is what they want to be there, then we should support them and we should have more, but not to just saying we should have more Black people, we should have, but I want them to also feel in themselves that this is where I want to be. I want to be like Daphne. It's a lot of work. It's hard work. There's a lot of compromising. I got married at the age of 30, right? But some people would say, I want to get married early. So, and studies with family is it's a bit of
a lot.
it's a lot. It's a lot. Sometimes when you are doing experiments, you're doing experiment even at night. And imagine you have a young baby you have to take care of, you have a husband who demands you to cook, to wash, and all of this. So you somewhere you have to compromise. If it's where you want to be a doctor in science, you should know that there's a lot of compromising that you will have to do so that you can achieve it. I mean, there are some people who comes back and then they pursue their masters, they pursue their PhD. But it's not. It's quite simpler when you're just free. You eat at the time you want to eat. You do whatever you see. So you can focus on your studies, and learn more than to use the other time to do some other stuff, right? So, yeah. So education, like my mom said, when I was still in high, and my undergraduate, she told me that funzo ndi ene monna ane hangani tucheri. Right? Do you understand what it means?
No.
So education is the husband that will never leave you. So take education as your first husband. Even for guys, take education as your first wife. Right? That will never disappoint you. Right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yes.
It's there, it's your degree, it's there. It's
It's
not
there.
going anywhere.
It's
There's no divorce.
No divorce with your degree.
Okay.
Right? So
Okay.
yes.
Thank you so much for a wonderful conversation. I mean, from my side, I want to do nuclear physics now, and I think with all the information that you guys shared, I mean, to raise awareness to undergraduate science students and people that wanna pursue a career in science. And I also think like it's gonna be very inspirational to see women in STEM. I mean, we always love seeing women in STEM. I mean, it's such a flex. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having
Thank you for inviting us.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yes.